everyone, welcome back to my channel if you're a returning viewer or subscriber, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. In today's video I'm going to be doing the end of the year book tag, which is basically a book tag where you basically talk about all of your reading plans for the last couple of months, looking forward a little bit into the next year. In this video we're going to be kind of seeing what books I hope to get to and what the rest of the year is looking like for me. If you want to answer any of these questions yourself, you're very welcome to down below. I'd love to hear what you're up to as well, so I can maybe get some reading motivation because I've got plenty of books to complete slash get to before the end of the year. 2024 is fast approaching and I am very happy with how many books I managed to read this year. I think I've read 52 books so far. I had a reading goal of 23, so that's pretty impressive. I've never actually read over 50 books in my life. I don't think I've even read over 45. So this has been a great reading year. I've covered so many different genres and things like that. I feel quite happy with what I've managed to get to so far, but there's definitely some books that I'd like to finish before the very end of the year. So the first question is, are there any books that you started this year that you still need to finish? And yes, I've got plenty of them. On the whole, most of the books that I'm going to show to you now are just on my November TBR and I want to finish them before the end of the month, so that's not that big a deal. And then I've got one which I've been in the middle of since August and I honestly don't know whether I'm going to complete it this year. If I do, it will be in December. I'm reading it for a video, so it's a little bit confusing, but let me just get that book so we can address that one first. That's Despair by Vladimir Nabokov. I love this book so much. I'm really enjoying it. I'm about a third of the way through, and so good. This man was truly a genius. So far I've only read Lolita from him, but I'm as kind of amazed with his writing in this one as I was in that. The problem is I'm reading this for a video. I've been putting off the video and it's so long since I got those prior clips. I need to like rewatch everything I filmed so I can see where I'm up to and give you some thoughts, because I'm so out of touch with that whole concept, which is a shame because it's one that I was very excited about. I still am excited about, but I need to make it happen. I've got a very busy November. I've just been in Ireland for the weekend and then I'm flying to Florida on Saturday, which is in a couple of days. This month's a bit of a mess, and then we're gonna have like the rush of Christmas and things like that. So if I can dedicate a little bit of time, I would love to finish this book and therefore that video, but we'll see how that goes. In terms of other books I'm reading in November, I've got The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is another one that I'm reading for a video where I just kind of vlog the experience of reading this book. I wanted to read this and get the video out in time for the film's release date, which is the 17th, which is quickly approaching. I don't think it's going to happen because I'm only 157 pages into this. It's almost 500 pages, or I think it is a 500 page book. I only have a couple of days to get this done. Like, I need to edit the video and schedule it in that time because I will be away when the film releases. So I'm not sure how that whole thing's gonna go, but at some point you will receive a vlog, but the vlog will come, I'm hoping, while the film is still in theaters, but not on its release date obviously. But this is the prequel book to the Hunger Games, if you didn't know that already. My devotional, obviously gonna finish that because this is a 365-day book. You have like a page every day, and so on December 31st this will be the final book that I read. I finish, I mean. I'm in the middle of Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I'm listening to this one on Audible, on audiobook, and then I'm reading along as I do it. On page 62 of this, and I'm sure to get this done before the end of the month. I'm having a lot of fun with this one. I'm probably not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. I read Sense and Sensibility this year by the same author, and I think I prefer that one, which is a bit of a shame because I thought this one was going to be the better one, but I'm still having fun. We have Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. As I mentioned, I went to Ireland over the weekend, so I wanted to bring an Irish book with me, so I chose my next Sally Rooney. Again, I'm filming a video on this and it will go up after I get back from Florida. But yeah, I'm about a quarter of the way through this. I'm on page 78, very much enjoying. And then the last book, I've been in the middle of this since October, and that's Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I need to get this done basically. I've got like 100 pages left, and if I just sat down and dedicated myself to it, I could. But again, I think this might be finished after I get back from Florida, hopefully within this month. Next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition you into the end of the year? It's very much already autumn here, so I don't have an autumnal book. We're almost actually into winter, so I do have a winter book, and this is a bit of a spoiler for my December TBR, but I have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This book absolutely took off over the internet, over BookTok and BookTube and Bookstagram, just the whole book internet space. I've heard so many good things. This is the cozy fantasy book featuring Emily Wilde. I think she travels up into the mountains. The cover gives me kind of summer vibes. Apparently it's very much set in a cold climate, and I just think it'd be perfect for December to snuggle down with a fantasy book about fairies. Emily Wilde is like trying to find this species of fairy. It's one last thing she needs to add to her encyclopedia that she's creating before she can publish it, I guess. And it just sounds beautiful. Everything I kind of like dreamed a book to be when I was about, I don't know, 10 or something. So it's perfect to me. I have very high hopes for this book. I think that would be a lovely book for the kind of Christmas season and also just the colder months in general. Are there any new releases that you're still waiting for? So my most anticipated release for the end of the year was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, which is a sequel to Fourth Wing, because if you have seen the video, or if you have not, I gave Fourth Wing 5 stars. I did film an entire one book focused reading vlog on that. I'll have it linked. I loved it. So I really want to pick up the sequel, obviously. I don't want to buy a brand new hardcover release, and I think I'm going to be getting it for Christmas. Probably read that one heading into the new year, and obviously that book's already out, so I'm technically not still waiting for it, but I am waiting for a couple of books that are kind of linked. One of them's coming out in the new year, I think in March, so it's a long way away, but one I believe comes out in December or something like that. I don't know, it's already out in the US, but it's coming out in the UK very soon, and that is the collector's edition of The Cruel Prince. It's beautiful, it's velvet and black, and I love it. I do actually own the collector's edition of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. This was a book I received for Christmas. Comes in an amazing slipcase, and then the book looks like this. It's incredible gold foiling. I'm not usually one to collect multiple editions of books, even if they're my favorites, but I thought for my very favorites, having the collector's edition as well as like the original hardback or paperback that I read from is wonderful. So soon I will have The Cruel Prince in a similar kind of style to this, because my mum has pre-ordered that one for me for Christmas. I'm so excited to receive it. And then the other book which she's also pre-ordered for me is the other one that I said was kind of similar to that one because it's the same author, and that is The Prisoner's Throne, I believe it's called, which is the second book in the Little Stolen Heir duology, which is a duology that follows the original Cruel Prince trilogy, like the Folk of the Year trilogy. I read the first book in that series, The Stolen Heir, in February of this year. I enjoyed it, but didn't have the same spark as the original Folk of the Year trilogy, so I'm excited for this sequel to maybe be a bit more impressive. I'm holding out hope that it's going to be better than the first book, but I still enjoyed the first book. It just was not anything particularly special to me, whereas the first trilogy obviously was, because I am getting that collector's edition. Okay, next question. What are 3 books that you would like to pick up before the end of the year? A couple of them were on my 2023 TBR. I'm not going to get to all the books on that list, but I would like to kind of cross off as many as I can before the end of the year. And then the other one is just a final book in a series that I would love to get to. So this is on my November TBR, and if possible I'd love to read this month, but we'll see how we go. If not, I'll pick it up in December. That's Finale by Stephanie Garber, which is the 3rd and final book in the Caraval trilogy. I read the first book in 2018, and then I reread it this year so I could finish the series. Bought the other 2 books this year. So I've read Caraval and I read Legendary this year, but I need to read Finale to round off the series, and it'd be lovely to complete it within the year and have that nicely tied up and finished. YA fantasy series, and I have all thoughts and whatever on Caraval and Legendary in various wrap-ups, which I'll have linked down below. So that's the first one that we have to mention here. Next up is another sequel, another final book in a series that I started a couple of years ago, and it's very much about time that I read this last book. I'm so excited about it, but it is very long. I think it's over 600 pages, which is a little bit terrifying. I enjoyed the rest of the series so much, I'm sure that I will probably get through this one quicker than I would any other 600-page book. That's The Toll by Neil Schusterman. This is the 3rd and final book in the Arc of the Scythe series. I gave the first book Scythe 4 stars. I gave the second book Thunderhead 5 stars, and it was my favorite book of the year that I read it. It honestly blew my mind. It was so impressive. I'm holding out hope that this one will be like Thunderhead in terms of like my enjoyment of it. I haven't heard as many good things about this one as I have heard about the previous book, so I'm a little bit scared, but you know, it's hard to finish off a series, so maybe people just have hugely high expectations for it. Scythe is a sci-fi kind of utopian book where all kind of disease and harm is eradicated from the world. If anything happens to you, you can be immediately cured, and you can actually be almost like, I think you can actually be brought back from the dead. It's very much this kind of perfect world, but in order to control the population, so we don't have billions and billions of people alive, there are these people called scythes whose job is basically to humanely kill people, so murder people. They are kind of like the government. You get like several lifetimes, and you can choose the way you're killed and whatever, so it is like the nicest way that you could die, essentially. But the problem is that the second that people are in charge of deciding who lives and who dies, things obviously become very corrupt. And so this book explores kind of the dynamics of that civilization and that society. It has some very interesting philosophical themes that I truly adored in Thunderhead, the second book. So very excited for this. It is massive, like I said, a little bit scary, but hopefully it's gonna be a good time. The other thing is that the last book I read in this series was years ago, so I'm gonna have to watch some recaps before I can get into this one. And then the final book that I would love to pick up before the end of the year, there's obviously other books I'd like to get to, but this is the last one that I want to make like a high priority. That's The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. I read my first Didion last year, so I obviously wanted to pick up more this year because I enjoyed that experience. So I'm going to hopefully get to this one in December. I also thought this would be good if I'm reading those kind of like thicker fantasy sci-fi books to throw in something that's completely different. So this book is a memoir about Joan Didion's life and the year in which her husband and her daughter had very kind of dramatic, tragic experiences. So the daughter got sick and she ended up on life support. She actually pulled through in the end. While this was happening, her husband had a fatal coronary. Very quickly, almost lost both of them, and it was a very traumatic experience, obviously, as you can imagine. I'm sure this is going to be very heavy, but I think that while thankfully lots of people in my life are very healthy right now, this would be a good time to read it, and I obviously want to read more Didion. I'm excited about how she has written this because I think it could be very very well done, because I think she's a great author. I know it's a hot take, isn't it? Is there a book that could shock you and become your favorite book of the year? I've had a couple of very, very strong reads that I will talk about in a video where I go through all the books I've read in the year. I don't know. I feel like The Toll is the only one that's really a possibility in terms of books I know for sure I want to get to, just because I love Thunderhead so much. So if that one had the same kind of spark that Thunderhead did, then I think it could be a really good read. But I don't know whether it could end up being my favorite book of the year. It might be one of my favorites. And then the final question is, have you started making any reading plans for 2024? Yes, I have made an entire list of 15 books I want to read in 2024. I'll be filming that video I think early January. You can look forward to that. But in the meantime, what I will say is that my general goal overall is to read lots of what I own physically. I've got this entire bookshelf full of books I haven't read yet. You know, it's really satisfying taking off things that you've had on your physical TBR for a long time. The other goal that I want to have is to read more books that intimidate me, which I know is such a basic goal and we all say that, but then we never do it. This is the thing, right? You think of all the great books and you're like, yeah, I want to get to that at one point in my life, but like one point in your life has to happen at some point. I think I'm at an age where I'm realizing that like you have to actually start doing the things that you said you've always wanted to do, otherwise they're not going to happen. There won't ever be a perfect time for them. So I've got a couple of mammoth books on my 2024 TBR. I'll just throw up a couple for fun. We've got Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, my first huge Russian classic. Terrifying, but also I think could be an absolutely kind of life-changing experience. It's got a good collection of Russian classics and I need to get them going, and I thought that'd be a good one to start with. I've got The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, which is an epic standalone fantasy book that's over 800 pages. I've been wanting to read this one for years and I've just been putting it off because it's thick, but I just need to, you know, allow myself to spend a lot of time reading it and to get it done, because I think it could be a great experience. I also have that one on Kindle now as well as physically. I really can see myself getting through it better than I could have done in the past before I bought the ebook. And finally, we're going to say 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which is much shorter in length than the previous two I've mentioned. It's only around 400 pages, but it's notoriously difficult to read. I'm a little bit terrified for that. It's got like a good sized font, it's very like physically readable, but inside my head I might be struggling a little bit. But again, it's a book that is on my wish list of books I want to get through in my lifetime, and I also have a video idea planned for that one as well. I would love to make that happen. So there you have it. Those are all the questions in the end of the year book tag. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to stick around and see whether I get to any of these books before the end of the year / what books I get to in 2024, you're welcome to subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you here going into the new year. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up so that I can tell that you did, and without further ado, I'll see you very, very soon in a couple of days for another one. Bye bye.